Teddy, are you ready? Okay. Are we good? All right. Hey, everyone. Have a seat. I want to thank the American Legion for hosting us here tonight. And thanks to Karen and Jeanette. Is it Jeanette?
Janet.
Janet, who's responsible for hosting us, giving us a place to kind of hang out and kind of end our day. So those of you who don't know who we are or what we're doing, some of you do, I'm going to give you a little bit of introduction as to, very short introduction as to what our mission is. We're a very small crew. Most of us are all sitting at this table right here. And a small crew who are on a very specific mission. And that mission is to call out loud the name of every fallen service member in the last 18 years. So, starting with the U.S. Cole at October 12, 2000, we have gathered the names of every fallen service man or woman who has died since that time, whether they died in combat, whether they died in training, or whether they died on base, or whether they died from the hidden wounds of PTSD. So we have gathered and compiled a list of over 20,000 names. And we've taken those names and we have plotted them on a path across America through 19 states for about 6,100 miles. And every one of those men or women who died on a particular day is honored at a particular mile. So and this is all chronological. So we started with USS Cole in 2000, and every day that a service member died is another mile. We have now crossed through 5 states. We have run 1,831 miles in the last 39 days. And so we started in California and went into Arizona, Utah, Colorado, and into New Mexico. And tomorrow we leave New Mexico and go into Texas. And as we travel across, our end point is going to be Arlington National Cemetery. Everybody knows where that is, Arlington Cemetery, Arlington. And that's where many of our war dead are buried. And many of our veterans are buried. And there's a section there called Section 60. And that section is where a lot of the War on Terror service members are buried. And so we're going to end up in Section 60 in a special ceremony on August the 5th. So the other thing that's going on while we're doing this is that we're actually broadcasting this live. So anybody could watch it. You could put it up on the TVs here in the post and actually watch us and hear us honoring these men and women every mile, because there's a certain ceremony that happens. We're not just running across America in honor of all of these men and women. We're running across America and naming out these men and women every single mile. So we'll come to a mile and we'll stop, come to attention, and then we'll honor those that died on a certain day. We'll call that date out loud so that everyone knows what date we're honoring. And then everyone who died on that day, could be 1 or could be 50. And it has been more than 50. We will stop and honor at that particular mile. And so, starting at 7 a.m. every morning and ending sometime between 4 and 6, sometimes a little earlier. Today was an earlier day for us. We're calling out these men and women all day long, at least 8 hours a day. So it's a very long process, you can imagine, to get through these 20,000. And so we are going to be naming these all the way to Arlington. And every time there's a new casualty, we keep adding them to the end. So we will literally name every single fallen service member all the way up to the moment we enter Arlington Cemetery. Nothing like this has ever been done before for any group of service members in any generation. This is probably the most comprehensive fallen veteran tribute ever put together. And so we happen to be running through Clovis, and this is our end of day stop. And so we're honored to be hosted most of the time. Sometimes we're in the middle of nowhere, like Yesu. Anyone knows where Yesu is? There's nothing there. I can't remember where it was that we just had to pull over to the side of the road.
Yeso.
Was it Yeso?
Yeah.
And just park because there wasn't any place to go and nobody to meet. And so we're honored to be here at the American Legion Post tonight to at least have a place to, have refreshments and have a meal and be welcomed by a few veterans and patriots who understand what sacrifice means. And so one of the traditions that we have every single night, regardless of whether we're alone or whether we have 500 people around us, is to reread the names of every one of those service members that we read for that particular day. Because we were there to hear them, and whoever was listening on the internet might have heard them. But we like to make sure that we honor those individuals again, and we honor their families. Because the one thing that the families want more than anything is that their loved one not be forgotten. Now, they remember every day. They don't ever forget. But the rest of America has a short memory. And so this is our way as an organization of saying to these families, of sending a message and saying, you know what, we're going to take whatever it takes. We're going to make sure that every one of these men and women are remembered out loud, and that these names are heard. And it may be a case where a family is able to be there and to listen, as the Thornton family was today. They came out to their mile marker and allowed us to honor them. Not every family has that opportunity. And so we want to make sure that these families know that we haven't forgotten. And so as part of our end of day, here at the Post, we're going to reread those names that we ran for today. And as you listen to these names, I want you to make believe, if you will, that you're their family. That as you listen to these names, those families aren't here to listen and to hear us calling them out loud, but you are. And it's an opportunity for you to stand in place of those families and listen to those names for them, and vicariously, if you will, project that statement of, I'm here to remember your loved one, your son, your daughter, your husband, your uncle, your brother, whoever it may be, both men and women alike. I still can't hear you. Oh, okay. Thank you, I'm sorry. I don't have my glasses. So if your phones could go on silent, that would help. Once in a while we do get a ring. So other than that, we're here for any questions afterwards. I'm sure we'll be sharing together, and I would like for our runners to come up and start to read the names tonight. You guys want to stand here?
stars just on the left side.
Master Sergeant Bill Allen Dugo-Guillermo, United States Army. Captain Anthony R. Garcia, United States Army. Senior Airman Alicia S. Good, United States Air Force. Staff Sergeant Louis M. Melendez Sanchez, United States Air Force. Sergeant First Class Amos C. Edwards Jr., United States National Guard. Corporal Matthew Marcellus, United States Marine Corps. Lance Corporal Samuel W. Large Jr., United States Marine Corps. First Lieutenant Brandon R. Dronette, United States Marine Corps. Sergeant Donnie Leo F. Levins, United States Marine Corps. Lance Corporal Nicholas J. Sobey, United States Marine Corps. Captain Brian D. Willard, United States Marine Corps. Sergeant James F. Fordyce, United States Marine Corps. Sergeant Jonathan E. McCooley, United States Marine Corps. Private Second Class Omar Diaz, United States Army. Chief Warrant Officer 2, Sean Raymond Benjamin, United States Army. Sergeant Charles E. Metheny IV, United States Army. Specialist Anthony James Fasella, United States Army. Airman Cody Lynn Sparks, United States Air Force. Corporal Jason Howard, United States Marine Corps. Corporal Matthew D. Conley, United States Marine Corps.
Airman Apprentice LaShawn Barrett, United States Navy. Airman Joseph Angelo Sector Serrati, United States Navy. Petty Officer 3, Christy Selena Alia, United States Navy. Private 2, Adam Nathaniel Hess, United States Army. Sergeant Quentin Lee Green, United States Army. Specialist Justin Gerard Miller, United States Army. Sergeant Roderick Laverne Miller, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Shelley K. Sons Olu, United States Air Force. Sergeant Jesse Davila, United States Army National Guard. Staff Sergeant J.T. Colado, United States Marine Corps. Private First Class Michael Peter Titus, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Gerald Michael Kane, United States Army. Private First Class Derek Anthony Henley, United States Army. Sergeant Delilah Samantha Newman, United States Army. Second Lieutenant Almar J. Fitzgerald, United States Marine Corps. Sergeant Ricky E. Jones, United States Army. Private First Class Alan A. Moore, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Curtis T. Howard II, United States Army. Private First Class Christopher L. Marion, United States Army. Sergeant Gordon F. Meisner II, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Gregson J. Gurley, United States Army. Specialist Thomas J. Wilf, United States Army. Private First Class Richard Keith Weaver II, United States Marine Corps. Sergeant Marquise Robert Allen, United States Army. Specialist David Martin Sissel, United States Army. Thiago Jr., United States Army. Dimitri Muscat, United States Army. Francis Powers, United States Army. Specialist Brent William Miller, United States Army. Second Lieutenant Robert Eugene Hayes, United States Army. Private 2 Charles Israel Franks, United States Army. Private First Class Benjamin C. Schauster, United States Army National Guard. Lance Corporal Edward Charles Ray Baker, United States Marine Corps. Will your family please stand for a moment? Lance Corporal John Joshua Thornton, United States Marine Corps. Thank you.
Lance Corporal Adam J. Van Alstine, United States Marine Corps. Staff Sergeant Christopher J. Shornack, United States Army. Specialist Clay P. Farr, United States Army. Specialist Joshua U. Humble, United States Army. Specialist Joshua M. Pierce, United States Army. Master Sergeant Sandra Patricia Bryan, United States Air Force. Private First Class Michael Vern Forrester, United States Marine Corps. Specialist David D. Olson, United States Army. Major Timothy Patrick Alville, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Dwayne Peter R. Lewis, United States Army. First Lieutenant Scott Eric Craven, United States Air Force. Master Sergeant Emigdio E. Elizares, United States Army. Specialist Scott Andrew Belcher, United States Army. Airman Michael Anthony Giles, United States Navy. Staff Sergeant Howard Ray Hall, United States Army. Sergeant First Class Ricky Wayne Bird, United States Army. Sergeant Tilford James Barton III, United States Army. Private First Class Tina M. Priest, United States Army. Sergeant Joshua V. Yeomans, United States Army National Guard. Specialist Christopher S. Merchant, United States Army National Guard. Petty Officer Robert Lee Brearley, United States Navy. Sergeant James Michael Hodgkiss, United States Army. Specialist Christopher Sowell Woodruff, United States Army. Major Stephen Dale Derula, United States Army. Lance Corporal Matthew A. Snyder, United States Marine Corps. Staff Sergeant James Bryson Jr., United States Marine Corps. Staff Sergeant Kevin P. Jessen, United States Army. Master Sergeant George Guthrie Kerstetter, United States Air Force. Lance Corporal Sean Michael Jackson, United States Air Force. Chief Petty Officer Jeremy David Ronkamp, United States Navy. Corporal Adam O. Zanuto, United States Marine Corps. Private First Class Ricky Salas Jr., United States Army. Private First Class Brenda S. Robertson, United States Army.
Augie and Paulette, will you please stand? Gunnery Sergeant Justin R. Martoni, United States Marine Corps. Petty Officer First Class Kelvin Renard Anderson, United States Navy. Sergeant Chester McClellan, United States Army. Sergeant Jeremy K. Crawford, United States Army. Second Lieutenant Lindsay Ann Patterson, United States Air Force. Gunnery Sergeant John D. Fry, United States Marine Corps. Lieutenant Colonel George Janovich Jr., United States Air Force. Petty Officer Second Class Matthew Albert Schaller, United States Navy. Staff Sergeant Oscar Raul Rodriguez, United States Army. Private Adam Cole McLean, United States Army. Lance Corporal Bunny Long, United States Marine Corps. Private First Class Amy A. Dirksen, United States Army. Private First Class Ryan Van Anderson, United States Marine Corps. Petty Officer Third Class Zachary Ryan Johnson, United States Navy. Petty Officer First Class Robert William Hales, United States Navy. Sergeant Ruben Jardo Jr., United States Army. Staff Sergeant Kurt Lucas Herzog, United States Army. Specialist Joshua Lee Hill, United States Army Reserve. Sergeant Anton J. Height, United States Army Reserve. Staff Sergeant Joseph R. Ray, United States Army Reserve. Sergeant Kevin D. Akins, United States Army Reserve. Lance Corporal Kristen K. Marino, United States Marine Corps. Chief Warrant Officer 3, Thomas Henry Burr, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Brian A. Lewis, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Marco A. Silva, United States Army. Sergeant Corey A. Dan, United States Army. Airman First Class Aaron Shana Frazier, United States Air Force. Private First Class Jesse Aaron Gabbard, United States Army. Private First Class Angelo A. Zawadi, United States Army. Captain Heidi Carr Palmer, United States Air Force. Staff Sergeant Matthew Lauren Waller, Walrod, United States Air Force. Master Sergeant Kevin J. Snyder, United States Army. Corporal Niall Yates III, United States Army. Sergeant Amanda Ann Pinson, United States Army.
Private First Class Philip Luis Linden, United States Army. Chief Petty Officer Shelton Morin Tarver, United States Navy. Specialist David Jason Gaitan, United States Army. Sergeant Dale G. Brem, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Ricardo Barraza, United States Army. Senior Airman Bethany Marie Ardoin, United States Air Force. Petty Officer Third Class Bryant Ken Allen, United States Navy. Private First Class Matthew Sterling Scarano, United States Army. Specialist John Arthur Snyder, United States Army. Airman First Class Roger Nelson Stewart III, United States Air Force. Sergeant Eric W. Strother, United States Marine Corps. Master Sergeant Dexter Tyrone Scott, United States Army. Sergeant Calvin Leonard J.C. Jr., United States Army. Corporal Antoine J. McKenzie, United States Army. Private First Class Jason Tabadero Reno, United States Army. Private Second Class Paul Matthew Slink, United States Army. Sergeant First Class Randy D. McCauley, United States Army National Guard. Staff Sergeant Brock A. Beery, United States Army National Guard. Private First Class Albert Anthony Santana, United States Army. Private First Class Bartez Powell Kaluza, United States Army. Specialist Frederick Andrew Carlson IV, United States Army National Guard. Private First Class Doris Regine Payan, United States Army. Sergeant Glenn Michael Haskins, United States Army. Airman First Class Noah A. Brad, United States Air Force. Staff Sergeant Christopher L. Robinson, United States Army National Guard. Fireman Michael Paul Maloney, United States Navy. Staff Sergeant Noel Roan Rao, United States Army. Master Sergeant Pedro Eduardo Yabenez, United States Air Force. Petty Officer Third Class Nathan Nicholas Hafterson, United States Navy. Sergeant Michael D. Rowe, United States Army. Private First Class Sean D. Tharp, United States Army. And Staff Sergeant Robert Hernandez, United States Army Reserve. And if Karen will stand. Staff Sergeant Devin Schutte, United States Army. Thank you.
Come here. Thank you, guys. This was day 39 of a 120-day run. We still have a long way to go. And the numbers that were read today were 156 fallen service members. Actually, over 38 markers today. Today, as I said, was a little shorter day for us. But the dates of those 156 fallen were between February 15th and March 28th of 06. Just that window of time took 156 of our men and women. What I'd like to do after we've read our own names, without moving too fast, is to give anyone in the room an opportunity to speak a name out loud of someone that they may have lost. Someone of any generation. It doesn't matter, because we really, by running for the war on terror, we are theoretically running for every service member who gave their life in our country's history. We carry the Honor and Remember flag, which kind of looks like this. And that flag represents every military death since the beginning of our country. And so we're running for them all. And I like to make sure that there is no one that is forgotten. And sometimes you may hold a loved one in your heart, but never speak their name out loud. And so I'll give you an opportunity. It may be a neighbor, it could be somebody you cared about, it could be somebody in your community, it could be somebody you served with. It really makes no difference. If you're not shy and you're willing to stand up and say that individual, I give you that opportunity now before we close. So is there anyone who would like to mention anyone? Just let me know. Yes, sir.
I'd like to mention he's from Clovis. He was killed in action in Iraq. Sergeant Leroy Segura, on behalf of his family.
What branch?
U.S. Army.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Jerry Wright from Connecticut. I'm riding across the United States in memory of Jay Bloom. Austin, Minnesota, lost Agent Orange. I'm on a quest to get as many signatures as possible on this petition that I drew up with my congressman and American Legion to get some dates changed that we can be treated for Agent Orange. I'm also one to remember Sergeant Rivera from the National Guard in Connecticut that's killed in Iraq, my hometown. And I went to his funeral. It's a sad thing. I've been 4,214 miles so far since I left home May 2nd. I'm on my way to Coos Bay, Oregon, and back to Minnesota, Michigan. So I didn't realize this was happening here today. I just happened to be going by and saw the Legion post and stopped in. If you'd like to sign this petition, I'd be grateful, and I'll take it to Congress this fall. And you can follow me on my Facebook page, Sprayton for Trade, AO.
Well, we honor all those that died of Agent Orange as well on our trek. So thank you for being here.
Yeah. Did you know there's an Agent Orange Memorial and a monument in Ennis, Texas?
No.
I stopped by it 2 days ago, and that is the most beautiful monument that you'll ever see. I'm hoping to get permission from the honor flight from the World War II vets to put one just like it up in Connecticut.
All right. Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak a name? Anyone at all? No one? All right, then if we could just bow our heads for a moment of silence as we reflect on the names that we read today and the names that were mentioned and the names that we are yet to run across this journey. Amen. Amen. We have with us Raymond Mandragon from the Eastern Plains Council of Governments. Raymond would like to address us.
It's Raymond Mondragon, but I know it's
Mondragon? I don't know. She says I'm white, so I don't know. Anglo.
Thank you so much. Tell you a little bit. I'm here to welcome you into our city, the city of Clovis. And we call it the home of champions and a place, a community for family. I don't know if you noticed the signs coming in. This is a community for family. I'm born and raised here in Clovis. I'm a retired police chief, FBI Academy graduate from Quantico. I'm on the Board of Trustees of Clovis Community College. And when I retired police chief, I went from the fire to the frying pan and became city manager of the city. And so I ran the city for a while and retired from that as well. So I was telling a couple of folks, I'm hoping that maybe in 2 years I might be a candidate for mayor of the city. We have a city of 40,000 people, and I wanted to present each and every one of you a lapel pin from our city. It's bound with a rope around the lapel pin because we are also cattle capital of the Southwest. It also has a power cap. We are the home of champions, a very 6A forceful football team. We've won 15 state football titles in football. In fact, in 2016, my grandson was voted and honored at the football banquet Defensive Playmaker of the Year. And he is now getting ready to go into the Air Force in November. And so he's training for TAC-P. As you know, that's a pretty tough and scary deal. But it also has the railroad, BNSF, Burlington Northern Santa Fe, Atchison, Topeka, Santa Fe, because we have the main line that goes through here from Chicago to Los Angeles. Along Yeso and Vaughn, you saw the main line going through. We also have a cow in here. It's the cattle capital of the Southwest. We are also a very large milk producer. New Mexico is the 7th largest producing of milk in the Union, in the country. We also have the largest cheddar cheese facility in the world here in Clovis, New Mexico, believe it or not. And so I wanted to present each and every one of you. But I also wanted to honor each and every one of you, for those of you that have lost a loved one. And I want to honor you and say God bless you to each and every one of you. And thank you for your sons and daughters serving our nation in battle, our nation in service of law enforcement or whatever. But I'm also involved with the National Guard. I'm an outreach director, a volunteer for the Employer Support for the Guard and Reserve, where we support our reservists. Our National Guard have done a lot for our nation during wartime. And so I want to honor them as well. And yet you did. It was very touching what you all did tonight. It really touched my heart. And I met Karen. Karen called me. We're both involved with Reefs Across America to ensure that every fallen that's buried here in Clovis, New Mexico, 3,500, receive a wreath during Christmas time, so we can honor them as well. We do that. We have over 12,000 retired military men and women here in Clovis, New Mexico. Over 12,000. We have Cannon Air Force Base, which is home of the Special Operations Unit. A year and a half ago, a Special Operations plane during missions just 6 miles east of here crashed. 3 were killed, and we honored them in a huge community vigil here in Clovis, New Mexico. But George, thank you. I'd like to present you the first lapel pin of our city of Clovis and welcome you as our brothers and sisters in honor of the fallen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I know we're going to get ready to eat, but just as the last thing, it takes us a lot to get from one town to another, and we get asked about the shirts that we wear, and if anybody's interested in a t-shirt, we do have shirts available, so pick one up. It helps us put gas in the vehicles, and we have some other things as well, so I leave you with that. And Karen, we ready? Let's eat. Good night, those at home.
Oh, I already got one.
Oh, absolutely. We'd love for that. Well, I think we're ready, though. We're ready. Yeah.
Can we please stand and uncover? Bow our heads in prayer. Lord, bless and keep these people safe and out of harm's way in their travels across this great United States. Bless our troops that are still in combat's harm's way, and keep everyone else that's here safe in their travels today. Bless this food that we're about to eat in the name of our Lord Jesus. Amen.
Amen. So how do we do this?
Help yourselves. Oh, right over here.
Oh, go first.